Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And there's a lot of news to get through today. I'm also still having this ongoing problem with just linking up and doing a broadcast. I've filled in incident reports to Facebook. Still no word back as to any solutions or any reasons why. So I just feel I must get on with the broadcast this morning. The weather today is looking absolutely glorious. Amanda's concise weather says, morning Ginge, Wednesday's weather, sunny with some cloud, but nice. Highs of 26 degrees, but it's going to feel like 30 and enjoy the day. Thank you very much for that, my darling. Anyway, looking at arrivals today, we've got 2 flights in from Athens through the day. We've even got 1 flight in from our neighbours next door, from Kefalonia, and we have 3 flights in from Amsterdam as well. And also last night I was in Magdalena's and I met a very nice couple by the name of Walter and Nissa, I think is her pronunciation, and they're on their way back to Amsterdam today after spending 2 weeks here and had a fantastic holiday. So again, thank you guys. We had a great chat last night about everything. And nice to meet you as well. Anyway, COVID in the last 24 hours. I'm afraid COVID, again, it's been up and down in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, I did report to you that we had only 808 cases reported. However, that number has now risen to 1,399 within the last 24 hours across the country. We've also had 4 new cases identified at checks into the country after reporting on 3 on the previous day. And according to the national stats at the moment, there's been no new cases in Macardo, no new cases in Kefalonia. Corfu's had an increase of 19 new cases on their island, and Zakynthos at the moment has reported no new cases on the national stats at all. That means at the moment locally we have only had 5 cases so far for the month of June, which is good. When it comes to deaths, unfortunately, deaths are now up again as well. I did report to you 24 deaths yesterday. Today, that is now 30 new deaths across the country, bringing the total death toll since the pandemic started to 12,331. The average age of those people, 79 years of age, 96 had underlying health problems or were over the age of 70. When it comes to incubated cases in ICUs across the country, good news there. That is actually down at the moment. I did report to you 392 yesterday. At the moment, that is now down to 381, of which 241 are male and 140 are female. Once again, 68 is the average age of people in ICUs at the moment. 83% of those having underlying health conditions or over the ages of 70. Right, today's news then. Right, the big story today here on Zakynthos is a major operation by the organised crime agency from Athens took place in the early hours of Tuesday on Zakynthos. Yep, according to the first information from the police, police officers from Athens arrived in secret on Monday night and proceeded within a few hours of their arrival in the early hours of Tuesday morning to then arrest 3 people on the island in connection to the murder of the businessman Dimis Kouravatas, who was murdered just a month ago. They were arrested in connection with his wife's murder that took place a year before. Anyway, in the early hours, the 3 men that were arrested, they were moved by boat by the local port authority to Kyllini, and then they were driven there from Kyllini by car to the headquarters of the GADA in Athens. Now, also, according to the same sources, arrests were made simultaneously in Athens and also in Pyrgos as well. Now, a later story came out a few hours later, and that later story, I'm going to read to you it as it was written in the local press. It said that investigations by Attica Police in cooperation with Zakynthos Police to solve the homicide case of the 37-year-old hotelier, Christina Koutsiniotis in Agiosostis in Zakynthos, and the serious injury of her husband Dimis in June 2020 in Zakynthos has been in progress. Anyway, the paper then just reminded people that it recalled that Christina was the wife of the 54-year-old Dimis Kofatis, who was murdered last month inside an office in the middle of Zakynthos town. Now, according to the report so far, there have been 6 indictments of suspects. They are 3 people from Zakynthos, 2 from Attica, and 1 from the area of Pyrgos, okay, which is just down the road technically from Kalini, where the port is across onto the mainland from Zakynthos. Now, according to the same information, most of them were named by Dimis in his petition after the first attack that resulted in the death of his wife. Now, at the time, the perpetrators, in their attempt to murder him, had opened fire at him and his wife while they were riding a motorcycle to their home in Agiosostis. Now, the 37-year-old, the wife, she was fatally wounded by the perpetrators, where Dimis survived the attack and was hospitalized for at least a year, and then obviously murdered last month. Anyway, in his lawsuit, he said, as soon as they realized that I was approaching on my motorcycle, on which my wife was riding as a passenger heading towards our home, the passenger of the perpetrator's motorcycle fired at us. He said the 20-year-old was intent and had fired at least 7 or 8 times with what turned out to be 45 caliber rounds. Anyway, he had named 2 people as natural perpetrators of the murder, citing among other things their body structure and their characteristic attitudes, and provided detailed descriptions of how the plan of attack against him and his wife was organized and implemented. Now, there has been reports in some of the mainstream Greek media that they're reporting 7 arrests. The local media are reporting 6 arrests. I got a feeling, I think they got their maths wrong from looking at the report. It was 3 people here on Zakynthos arrested. There was 2 people in Athens arrested, and 1 person in Pyrgos arrested. Where they get that 7th person in the national reports that have been written, I don't know, but I'm feeling somebody has just basically cocked up their maths, unless there's more to come out in a later story. Anyway, interestingly, yesterday, Greek Prime Minister Mr. Mitsotakis hinted on Tuesday that the government could make vaccination against COVID-19 mandatory for healthcare workers and carers in nursing homes. Now, speaking during a debate on the bill for the creation of a digital COVID certificate, he said that the government's efforts to persuade the public on the merits of inoculation will soon be replaced by its official position on the mandatory vaccination of workers working in hospitals and clinics, as well as in elderly care units. Now, the government, he said, will decide when, with sensitivity and a clear priority in public health, whether to proceed down this road. Anyway, in mid-May, Greece's fire department announced that all members of its special disaster unit, the EMCA, they would all have to be vaccinated against COVID-19 if they wanted to serve in that particular unit, as they must be ready to travel abroad at any given time to disaster zones around the world. Well, that's as may be, but I still feel it should be your choice as to whether you had the vaccination or not. And as you are very aware of my feelings on this, is I will only be vaccinated when I'm basically being blackmailed into being vaccinated, and feel that there may be no other choice. However, good thing about under Greek law at the moment, if you do have a problem with the vaccination, you can still sue because it has been pointed out that forcible vaccination is is constitutionally not acceptable. But however, we live in strange times at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see what pressure will be brought to bear on those people like myself who do not want to be vaccinated at this particular moment. And interestingly, another story that just came out in the very early hours of this morning referenced COVID-19 self-testing kits. Announcement was made that COVID-19 self-testing kits required by hundreds of thousands of private and public sector workers will stop being distributed free of charge by people's local pharmacies by the end of the month. Now, this is what the Association of Greek Pharmacists said on Tuesday, or the PFS. Now, in an announcement, the PFS clarified that deliveries to the private and public sector workers registered on the self-testing gov.gr platform will go ahead as planned through Sunday, supplying them with 3 kits. They will need to see them through until the end of the month, with a weekly test taken before showing up to work. Now, as far as school students and educators are concerned, the PFS said that the pharmacies will distribute 3 kits to each beneficiary from June the 14th to June the 19th, thus ensuring that the rest of the semester and National University entrance exam timetable are seen through safely, but stressed that this supply would also be stopped as well after that date. Anyway, the news was confirmed by the Deputy Minister to the Prime Minister, Zakynthos, who said, however, that alternative channels will be available to supply kits to people who are required to produce a negative COVID test once a week to go to work. He said distribution would continue through the summer, but he was not specific as to what these alternative channels would be. He also said that 18 to 30-year-olds are eligible for 3 kits, though it was not clear how they are registered on the platform. Anyway, hailing the self-testing program that was launched on April the 12th to facilitate the safe reopening of the economic and social activity after months of lockdown, Zakynthos claimed that it has helped to contribute to a drop of 73% in the number of coronavirus infections, 65% in hospital admissions, and 53% in the positive index. So again, we'll be keeping an eye on that. So how are you going to get your testing kits? And is the alternative going to be mandatory vaccination? We shall wait and see. Coming back to some more local news at the moment, 2 people were arrested yesterday evening in Zakynthos and in Kefalonia by the police during raids for check on possessions of drugs. In particular, in Zakynthos, a foreigner was found by police officers of the Crime Prevention and Suppression team, I'll get that out in a minute, who was in possession of a small amount of raw cannabis, which they then confiscated. In a similar case in Kefalonia, a local was located and arrested by police there, again by the Crime Prevention and Suppression team, for the possession of basically cannabis as well. Now, all of those arrested were taken before the prosecutors in their locations. Interestingly, it seems the British ambassador has been talking. I wonder if she may have seen my broadcast. I'm just curious. But anyway, the British ambassador to Greece, Kate Smith, expressed confidence that Greece will soon be included in Britain's green list of countries which are safe for travel during a broadcast on tourism and security that was held on Tuesday. Anyway, on May the 17th, the UK introduced the so-called traffic light system for travelling abroad based on the coronavirus pandemic situation for each country. Greece is currently on the amber list of countries, which obviously means that Britons are advised against travel to it. However, you can still get here, but those who do travel must take 2 COVID-19 tests on the 2nd and 8th day after their return to the UK, where they must do 10 days quarantine, and also as well, they must also test before they leave Greece to go back into the UK as well. Anyway, further to her article, it says that people returning from the country on the green list will not need to quarantine and will only be required to take one diagnostic test 2 days after arriving in the UK. That is, if we get onto the green list. We shall wait and see if that happens and transpires. Just be aware, I do have listeners up in Athens who do tune in the mornings. Just be aware, the only public transport available in Athens at the moment today on Thursday will be buses, and they will only be available from 9 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. And they are basically to transit workers because there is a general strike on at the moment, which has been called by the private and sector unions to protest the new Labour bill that's going through the Parliament. Again, you might remember I did quite an intensive review of that Labour bill that at the moment is before the Parliament at the moment. However, here in Zakynthos, workers on passenger ferries are also planning to join the general strike through the ship owners union on Tuesday. The ship owners union on Tuesday took a recourse to the counts to the rule and placing it as unlawful. A decision from the Piraeus court was expected on Wednesday. So at the moment, I'm not sure if the ferries here on the island are operating. If they're not operating, it's because basically they're on strike. So if anybody knows any different, as if the ferries are operating this morning, let me know before the end of the broadcast, and obviously I can tell people that it's happening. Also, again, more news reference the police here on Zakynthos. The Zakynthos Police Department is going to be strengthened this summer with more than 100 extra people. According to local press reports, there are already 65 officers on the island who have been deployed in all departments and have already started intensive inspections throughout the island. Now, the aim of the police directorate is to strengthen the citizens' sense of security here and to suppress delinquent behaviours. I do like that wording, delinquent behaviours. Anyway, another 40 officers are expected to come to the island soon. The article then says, remind you that the strengthening of the local police was a commitment from the Minister of Citizens Protection, Mr. Koutsiniotis, who had visited the island last year and was informed about the gaps and the shortcomings that exist in the service here at the moment with the police. Now, the reinforcement was also necessary after the recent incidents, including 2 murders, arrests for drugs and weapons that have shocked the local community here on the island of Zakynthos, and also tourists as well, who probably raised a few eyebrows and thought, what the hell am I coming to here? Anyway, so there you go. That's the news for today. And finally, do you want me to give you the wacky Greek facts? Yeah, why not? I was going to do this yesterday, but I didn't. But anyway, facts about Greeks and Greece. Stealings of plants from another is permitted, and it's actually admitted to. You probably won't find this any guidebook that you read, but basically Greeks believe that flowers that are stolen, i.e. somebody comes into your garden and does a cutting. It used to infuriate us when we lived down in Kalamaki that people would come and cut the roses that used to be outside our window and would take them away. But the Greeks actually believe that by actually stealing flowers, they actually grow better. Greek superstition that stealing cuttings rather than asking for them actually makes them grow a lot better. So, have you been a victim of this? Somebody coming into your garden and cutting your cuttings and then taking them away and doing it as if there's nothing wrong with this. It's just the way things are. Anyway, another little wacky fact about the Greeks is that waving hello is bad. Yeah, the common palm facing out, the old hi, known as mutsa in Greece, is normally a form of greeting for most people worldwide. But if you see Greeks doing this, they're not waving hello. They are basically flipping you the bird, all right? Greeks wave either with their palms to the side or facing them. I don't know what that means. Anyway, somebody will probably show me. But anyway, there's your wacky facts for today about Greece. Right, I've just been looking at the amount of people that are dropping comments. Can I thank some of the people yesterday that were dropping me comments in the very early hours of this morning about cancellation of flights that they're experiencing at the moment, and the fact they're having to move their bookings to September because obviously they were hoping to come over in June, and now the holiday companies are, shall we say, have caught up with what's going on here in the way of us still remaining on the amber list. So that hope that things might change obviously has not arrived, and therefore the holiday companies are being proactive, changing dates. But again, they're actually doing it at not charging any extra, which is a good thing. However, people are still querying the fact that it's costing them well over £200 for testing that is required at the moment if they had decided that they were going to come. And the costing of testing seems to be the big thing that people are talking about, especially in the UK, about how expensive it is. The cheapest I've heard from somebody was that the cheapest they could get all their testing done was around about £360 for all of their tests to be done. We did hear of one person who I think it was 180 to get their testing done, and that was a special deal through one of the holiday companies that they'd actually booked with. But anyway, thank you for those messages. I'm just going to quickly scroll through as best I can the messages that people have already put on here. Alf Ling, nice to see you tuning in. Amanda Gregory as well is watching as well. Also, Christine Coldwell's tuning in as well. Nice to see you tuning in. I'm going to give you a little ring later on today, Christine, just to see that everything is all right. I was speaking to Michael the other day. Dave Matthews is also tuning in as well. And it keeps jumping back to the top again. Amanda Gregory says, good morning. Emma Marco is watching as well. Nice to see you. Margaret Miller is watching. Pete Atkins is watching as well. Brian Darlington is watching as well. Sam Curtis in Brighton is tuning in as well. Alf Ling says, good morning, Ginge. It's going to be sunny here in Suffolk. I'm pleased you're having good weather at the moment. I've also had a message to say that it is also beautiful in, I think it was Nottingham, I think somebody was saying. Oh, this is so annoying, the way that this thing doesn't scroll like it used to. So I don't know what's going on. I still feel like I'm being got at to stop the news getting out. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Can I just say once again, thank you for all those people that are still supporting me. Could I ask you as well, if you haven't already done so, could you please like and subscribe the channel on YouTube? Once again, you can go to YouTube. You can cross-check any news story that I do. It's a great little archive for all the past broadcasts that I've done. And basically, like and subscribe to the channel. Help the channel grow, as they say. I would really appreciate that. Also, just to let you know that tonight I'm going to be doing a special broadcast. That was the reason why I was in Magdalena's last night. I'm doing a special broadcast, again, a reverse broadcast from Studio 1 into Magdalena's, basically starting at 9 o'clock tonight until midnight, which would be the hours that we would be open if I was in the bar because of curfew, which kicks in at 12:30. But normally we try and get people out by just after midnight. So once again, come and join me. If you've got any requests, dedications, there will be little vox pop messages from people within the bar, a few familiar faces you may recognise in the show tonight. So come and join me 9 o'clock tonight on my little channel, broadcasting live from Studio 1. You get me on Facebook, get me on Mixcloud, get me on Twitch. In fact, Twitch is the medium that they'll have up on the screen in Magdalena's bar, because the show will be on the screens. However, you'll have to listen in to it on your little phone or whatever, just so you can hear the music, because we still technically have a music ban at the moment in Greece, and we're still waiting for word if Mitsotakis is going to cut that ban over the weekend. Fingers crossed he will, and then we'll obviously be able to go back to work. Also, as well, just to let you know, the Northern Soul show from last week, that's now up online on Mixcloud, along with the Dance Anthem show as well. So again, you can check up on those on Mixcloud. Right, that's it from me for today. I hope you have a fantastic day where you are. I'll keep my ear to the ground, and if I hear anything, I'll let you know. Ta-ra.